Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. All right. I'm gonna try to keep this fairly brief, as I am very much apt to run over my times. But thank you all. I love you all. Thank you for chiming in again. Another beautiful day. Plenty of opportunities to spread peace, love, respect. I love it. I love it. All right. I'm gonna call this one Astonishment, because that's what prompted me even to make this video, right? Astonishment at the Maia. And for those of you who may not be familiar with that term, probably more tossed around in metaphysical circles or spiritual circles, so to speak, right? But yeah, the Maia, the big illusion, right? The quote-unquote Native Americans spoke a lot about this, maybe in different terminology, but they were certainly aware of it, right? And it really is the illusion, and it's grown to epic proportions, and it is astonishing, right? Once you come out of indoctrination, and once you free your mind up and escape the Maia, to observe the Maia and how the majority of us have been completely fooled, indoctrinated, bamboozled, run amok, right? Brother Malcolm certainly gave us a lot of terms. That's true. You know, we have been lied to so vehemently, right? And in such complex terms that most of us have no idea that we simply don't have to exist this way. We really don't. These linear systems that we've grown so accustomed to are so unnecessary. Simply is. We have grown accustomed to living a lifestyle that generates nothing but wealth and power for the socio-economic elite. And the waste product of this function is the pain and misery that the masses have to live through, right? But again, you know, it's so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. First of all, we have to wake up a bit and just use a little quote-unquote common sense. The really super wealthy socio-economic elites, right, don't number that greatly. There's not that many of them, right? In fact, if you were to planet-wide sort of group up all the socio-economic elite and all those who are so super closely tied to them and brainwashed and sort of golden handcuffed in that you'll never tear them away, if you could group all them up in the entire world, you're looking at likely far less than 100 million people. All right? Far less. Realistically, far less. So how is it that we allow less than 100 million folks to completely subjugate and rule over 7 billion, to trick them into believing that we don't have access to energy sources outside of the fossil fuel system, to keep them completely in the dark about all the beautiful free sources of energy that we have available to us, to keep them feeding this corporate monstrosity that this country has grown into and much of the world, right? They literally have us so mentally enslaved, right? And spiritually enslaved and completely indoctrinated and fooled that we think there's no other way to exist on the planet. We think that we have to hoard all the food and put it into grocery stores and enable corporations to sell it to free people, right? Stop and think about that for a second. You can put seeds in the earth, in the soil, and grow food all over the planet. It's not like there's just rich soil to grow food from in some select area, and so no, all over the planet you can grow something, right? But yet, rather than us freely planting vegetation everywhere and making it freely available to everyone, they have us trained into these systems where we feel we can't eat unless some corporate entity is benefiting. You go to the grocery store, somewhere along the line, even if it's a small grocery store, there's a corporation benefiting. You go to these restaurants, fast food chains, all of it benefiting corporations, right? So much so that we have, I don't want to give a number, but we have so many people starving literally to death on this planet because we are so addicted to feeding the corporate machine that we won't even allow for there to be food for human beings to eat unless it's feeding the corporate structure. That's sick. That's sick. To be so greedy that you're willing to let another being die because their eating is not bringing you profit. That's sick, right? But this is the mentality of these socio-economic elite individuals that we've let be in power for far too long. Now, I'm walking down the street here, and as is the case throughout the United States, not that I've been everywhere in the U.S., but I've traveled a few places, right? And certainly know folks all over the country, and some, fortunately, I've been blessed to get to know folks in various places in the world, and it's pretty much the same. You see this, right? There's a sidewalk, and there's a tree. Now, it's cool. I love trees. Anybody knows me knows I absolutely love nature. But why can't that be a regular tree? And then why can't that be a pear tree? And then a regular tree, and then an apple tree, right? You get the point. Why are we hoarding our food resources, allowing people to starve to death, instead of just planting vegetation everywhere? Why not? Why can we not have vegetation growing everywhere? If you're hungry, There's food there to eat. You know why? Because if we did that, the very first thing, and my man Papa Duck brought this up on his channel. Shout out to Papa Duck. The very first thing they're going to do is say, wait a minute, how are we going to stop people from just walking up and picking something to eat? You don't. You feed the people. I know, novel idea, right? Actually eliminating hunger. Actually allowing people to eat and sustain themselves without feeding the corporate monster. Blasphemy, right? Come on, folks, we got more common sense than this. We have to know that these finite linear systems cannot last. They simply can't. We have to employ cyclical systems that work for everyone, or we doom ourselves. Advancement, specifically technological advancement, and I guess you could say societal advancement, right? Without spiritual maturity and development, will always lead to self-destruction. We came close to it in the 80s, right? Those folks who are old enough, you remember the Cold War? You remember how we all used to go to school and they had us learning where all the nuclear shelters were and going through drills, and sometimes we'd have a period, we'd look at the president speaking about the current state of the nuclear crisis on the planet, right? We got close. But we averted that. And we have an opportunity to be better. We gotta grow up and mature and stop letting people suffer on this planet just to keep a select few in power and living lavish lives while the masses suffer. It doesn't have to be that way. It's so unnecessary. There's so many different ways, there's so many energy forms that have been and continue to be subdued and kept hidden from the masses, right? So many forms of free energy we could be utilizing rather than continuing to be so cripplingly addicted to and dependent on these fossil fuel industries. It doesn't have to be that way. Just with the inventions of Nikola Tesla alone, we could get out of dependency on these fossil fuels. But it doesn't stop there. Plenty other inventors that have come up with ways to get around this dependency on fossil fuels. There was a guy over in Ohio, I believe, that invented in a car engine that ran off of water. Ask what happened to him. He's not living anymore, I'll give you that. We have to stop feeding these social systems that are designed to keep these socio-economic elite individuals in power while the rest of the world suffers. And the only bone that is thrown to the average person, which unfortunately many of us are indoctrinated so much that we go for it, is that one day we can hope to live high on the horse like they did. That one day we can be one of those socio-economic elite individuals with all the material things that we would want or desire, and continue to contribute to the same corruption that plagues the planet. That's not a real aspiration, folks, right? That's not progress, that's moving backward. That's not human evolution, that's devolution. Right? They're devolving. We have to aspire for better. We're capable of it. We need to apply our intellects, our hearts, our compassion, and just be real. with one another. The average person really doesn't want all that much. Quite honestly, most of these material gains that we feel so addicted to, it's only the result of training and indoctrination that we lust after these things so, right? Without that, many of us would be free from many of the trappings of the Maya. But there's always some mechanism put in place by the socio-economic elites to keep us trapped. Or rather, more correctly, to keep us trapping ourselves. Because they simply do not have the power to enforce any of this. They can only trick us to enforcing it upon ourselves. I told you, their numbers are far less than 100 million. And there's over 7 billion people on the planet. There is absolutely no reason why we have to continue to allow these myopic, selfish, low vibrational frequency folks to continue to run the planet. We've got to mature, right? We got to act like adults. Really. And we have to step up to the plate and say it's time for change, right? Stop externalizing your power. That is the only way they remain in power, is by us externalizing our power to them. We need to move away from that and internalize our power. And to find better ways to do that, let's no longer employ our intellects for their benefit. Employ our intellects for our benefit, the benefit of the collective masses, right? Turn your intellect inward for your own benefit and betterment, right? We can do it, folks. We just have to understand and mature.